Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Live from Bauhaus Studios in beautiful downtown Port Credit, it's the Tom and Rick Show for Wednesday, September the 2nd. Tonight's guests, musician and envoy from the Southside Shuffle, Mark LaForne. From Mindshare Learning Technology, Robert Martellacci. Canadian music legend, lead singer of The Spoons, and author, Gord Depp. And starting off a new segment this week, Eating Port Credit, this week's guests are from Spice Lounge and Tapas, Ryan and Christian. Also tonight, Cooking with Carson. And tonight's guest on Undercover Tonight is Port Credit's own Tyler Urema. And now your hosts, Tom Barlow and Rickford Van Dyke.
Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tom and Rick Show in beautiful downtown Port Credit, Ontario. Rick, Rick.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
Hey, you know, you got to buy nothing but Gillette, okay? When you get a razor, because I always take off most of my lips. There's not much there anyways, so to take it off at this point is just pointless.
Blood, sweat, and tears on live television, Folks, lots of good stuff on the show today, but first we're going to catch up with the BIA info package, and that is that Classic Cars, the great car show they have in downtown Port Credit
with
on the left side.
Musicians.
With live musicians
music.
has been extended 2 weeks, and they're going to get some musicians who were slated to play the Southside Shuffle to play that car show. That's fantastic. So that is Thursday evenings, downtown Port Credit on the east side of here, Ontario. Very proud of the community that we raised $20,000 through the PC gift cards for the Compass organization, which is a really fantastic organization.
Yep.
We have live music on the patios in Port Credit, and that patio exemption that all of the clubs have has been extended till November 15th. Yesterday, I performed my song about the opioid crisis called The Wizard at International Overdose Awareness Day at the Lighthouse. It was a beautiful event, very moving. Thanks to everyone who came to that. And there is live music all the time in Port Credit now. Rick, what is happening?
Well, Phil and John Thursday are at the shore because they have a residency now. So every Thursday you can see Phil and John. And Kenny V is on Friday at the shore. And our own Tom Barlow is going to be at the shore on Saturday. It's going to be not a Sunday show, but a Saturday rocking show, full on rocking. And at Spice, one of our favorite places as well. Saturday, it's Derek Lathrop from 3 to 7. Sunday is going to be the wonderful Gracie, 3 to 7.
That is very excited. Give yourself another dab there. Dab there, Rick. Folks, we're going to take a short break, and we're coming back with a fantastic blues man. I'm going to call him a blues man because he is a blues man in the awesome traditional sense of the word, a man who makes his livelihood touring the country and playing fantastic music. We'll be right back.
It's Tim Hortons Southside Shuffle Blues and Jazz Festival. The free virtual festival this September, featuring the legendary Downchild Blues Band, Finnish blues sensation Iria Littinen, Miss Emily, and the Durham County Poets, plus much, much more. It's a virtual house party, so get ready to dance on the deck, boogie in the backyard, and party on the patio. September 10th to 13th, airing nightly at 8 p.m. For previews and more info, go to southsideshuffle.ca.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a couple of weeks, traditionally Port Credit would have one of its greatest events, and that is the Southside Shuffle, founded by Chuck Jackson, where great blues artists from across Canada and around the world come. There's a massive festival show. There's blues in all the clubs and on the street. Of course, because of COVID, that's been canceled, and the Southside Shuffle is going virtual. We are very excited to have one of the headline acts for the Southside Shuffle. His name is Mark LaForne, and he is going to play us some blues. But first, we're going to catch up with him. Mark, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for coming. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. It's nice being back in Mississauga again on your show for the first time. I heard all about it, but I've never had a chance to take a peek at it yet.
Did you know that one of the hosts bleeds on camera? Did you know that? Sorry, it's gross.
Beyond, above and beyond the Call of Duty there.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned the Southside Shuffle, and I was looking up your bio before we started, and it turns out that you are of the Mississaugas of the New Credit Reserve.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how it became, the Mississauga Reserve is no longer a Mississauga?
That's because we were here first. We lived along the banks of the Port Credit River, and we used to deal in furs with the traders, and they used to give us credit for our furs when we come back a year later on and stuff, and that's how the river got its name.
I had
Credit
no
River.
idea.
And I'm from the tribe, the Mississaugas, which is an Anishinaabe tribe, which is Ojibwe or Chippewa to you. And we were here until 1847. We sort of got pushed out because, you know, settlers were coming in. They were hate trees, so they were chopping them down. So our way of life was changing. So we, Six Nations were kind enough to give us part of their reserve, which is in between Caledonia, Hagersville area.
Yep.
So that's the history
I'm
of
from
that.
Brantford, so I know
Yeah.
that place very well.
Yeah, the Reds.
Now I was saying in the intro there that you are a blues man, a blues musician in the traditional way, and that mostly you play live. That's how you make your living. So when COVID happened, how did that affect you? How did you have to adjust your life and so on?
Immediately lost all my jobs. You know, I was supposed to be down at the Sugar Festival on the shoreline there, but everything went. The dances. Getting up in age now, so I don't travel as much as I used to. And as far as blues musician, I've been a country musician for 20 years, and I worked with Stompin' Tom. I play R&B, I play blues. I try to do it all. I'm not.
A musician more broadly. we would
Yes,
say.
that's
Yeah.
what I like.
And tell us a little bit about the Stompin' Tom connection. I read that Stompin' Tom specifically asked you to play at his funeral. How
Yes.
did that all happen, and how did your relationship start?
When I first started with him it was 98 when we went on the first tour, and we had to play his songs because, you know, not copyright, when you play live, you know, he liked us to play his songs, so he got paid for it.
Right.
I did my version of I Am the Wind, and it knocked him out. He eventually produced an album for me with that version, my version of I Am the Wind. And he liked it so much, and when I was on the last tour, that 2011, and when he passed away, it came as a surprise to me. Tommy Jr., his son, asked, he said, "Dad wants you to sing I Am the Wind" at his funeral, at his memorial at the Peterborough Memorial Arena.
Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful
It
thing
was
to be
a
asked
great
to
night.
do.
I know, it was definitely an honor because the man was quite honorable for sure.
Wow. Now you were going to play, you're going to be one of the headliners. You're going to play on the virtual shuffle Sunday at 8 o'clock. Am I correct?
Yes.
And we're going to post online. We'll ask
Where do you
Les
find
to
it?
post the links to watch the virtual shuffle. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Facebook and so on. And I'd love to hear a song if you'd
Yeah.
play one for us, Mark.
I've never played a song live. I've always liked it. I come from a history of musicians. When I finally got on the road and that, I always wanted to join Ronnie Hawkins because that was, you know, he had the band, he had Crowbar, and that seemed to be the way to go through that school. All of my friends, including Mike Eastman, Bill Dillon, and everybody who's played in my band has all been through the Ronnie Hawkins thing. And I first met up, my mentors were from Crowbar, Rolly Greenway and Rael Lanthier. And Rolly used to play the song. We had a band together after Crowbar, and it was by Jimmy Reed. It's called And I Ain't Got You. So it's my blues rendition of this song. Hope you enjoy it. I got a $10 Cadillac with a spare tire on the back. I got a Georgia County Gold Flats, but I ain't got you. I got a closet full of clothes, but no matter where I go, you keep a ring through my nose, and I ain't got you. I got a tavern, a liquor store, I play the numbers. 444, I got a mojo. Hey, don't you know? All dressed up, no place to go. I got women to the right of me. I got women to the left of me. I got women all around me, but I ain't got you. liquor store, I play the numbers. 444, I got a mojo. Hey, don't you know? All dressed up and no place to go. I got women to the right of me. I got women to the left of me. I got women all around me. But I ain't got you. Well, I ain't got you. Well, I ain't got you.
Wow. Super great. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mark Laforme. You can catch him on the South Side, on the virtual South Side Shuffle, the Sunday of the Shuffle. I believe it's the 8th.
13th.
Sorry, it is the 13th, the Sunday of the Shuffle on the 13th. Make sure you check out Mark. And thanks very much for coming.
Thank you
Thanks for
very
that
much.
great song.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I have a friend who has been in the technology and education business for 20 years. We talk often. He's invited me to speak on his panels a couple of times. And suddenly we are in this global pandemic. We have learning from school. We have trying to learn online. And what's become clear to me is we need to better integrate technology into our education system. We have Rob Martellacci here today. Look, creating content.
Oh, hey.
Creating content. Hey. And Rob, Mindshare Learning, welcome to the program. What a privilege it is to have you on, because I don't know many people who have been in the ed tech business for 20 years. And the world, it seems to be, is now asking a lot of questions of you. Tell us about what's going on.
Thank you for having me, and I'm honored. I'm usually on the other side watching your awesome entertainment, no, it's great to be here and to share some of what's happening in the school systems. It's never been a more exciting time to be in education. There's tremendous innovation happening, and a result of just necessity. Necessity is the mother of innovation. So what was nice to have in the past in terms of online learning, something we've been advocating for over 20 years, it takes 20 years sometimes to be an overnight success.
Right. And you were saying that you were speaking with the superintendent of Peel.
That's right, yesterday.
What is sort of the latest that you can tell us about?
Yeah, great question. It really is a moving target right now, because the teacher unions and in Ontario and the province aren't playing ball. They're not working in any form of partnership, which I think is critical today. And so what I'm hearing is that about a third of the kids aren't going to go back and opt for online learning because parents aren't comfortable, and for various reasons right now.
Right. So now, will that work to the benefit of the system? Because I know the teachers unions are concerned that you're still going to have a class with 30 people. So if a third are staying away, is that going to create some distancing and some safety?
That definitely will alleviate the pressures, no doubt. But in cases where it doesn't, let's think outside the box. Let's think outside, and how about an outdoor classroom? There was a pandemic in the early 1900s. And schools in Toronto brought the kids outside. So don't be restricted. Don't think four walls. You have to think creatively as well.
Right. Now, specific to your business, which is called Mindshare Learning.
Right.
What have school boards come and said to you? What can we bring in? What tools do you have that you can offer?
I'll give you an example of a really cool project I worked on this summer with a private school in Oakville. The tech director said, I want half the kids at home and I want half the kids in the class, but I want the kids to get a feel like they're in the class. So there's a technology where you wear a pendant and the camera will actually follow the teacher. It's called Swivel. And so we're working on a partnership with them. So they went ahead and purchased 27 of these Swivel devices for the classroom. So you can set your phone or your iPad, and it gives the kids a sense that they're right in the classroom.
Right. Now, one of the issues that I hear parents talking a lot about is, well, they're concerned about safety, but they're also concerned that their kids are losing valuable socialization experience.
Right.
How do you bridge that? How can technology help bridge that gap?
Yeah, for sure. And so in the spring, when we're all at home, products like Zoom and other tools, Google Teams or Microsoft Teams or Meet, enabled some face-to-face collaboration virtually, which was great. But now I think we need to get back in the classroom. Like there's nothing could make up for the actual face-to-face, in-person experience. And the other reality is, if we don't go back to school, parents can't go to work, right? So we have a promotion on with our workspace, back to school means back to business, right? And so that's been a holdback for parents in their ability to work, although they may be working from home. They still need to focus. If they're homeschooling their kids, that's a whole other dimension. And there are a lot of parents who have opted for that as well.
Right. Well, one thing, and there's a million memes online, one thing that parents have learned is teaching kids Canadian history is not easy.
It's not.
None of it is easy. No. And especially if you really don't know what you're doing, which I assume most parents don't.
100%.
So how do you think this pandemic will change education in Ontario?
Yeah, great question. So we're already seeing transformation happening. Online learning is being embraced, which was in the past a nice to have and now a necessity. There are all kinds of innovative projects happening. STEM in a Box, for example, for the safety of kids, that for the kids who aren't going to school are receiving these kits at home. Equity is a huge issue in education. So there's the haves and the have-nots that we talk about. But now school boards have given kids who don't have computers to work with at home. So we've seen a real leveling of the playing field, which is, listen, I grew up in a tough situation, single parent, rough upbringing, and alcoholism, you name it. And it was a school of hard knocks. So I know what it's like not to have the resources. So it really is important to provide the kids who don't have the tools and access to the internet. So companies have stepped up, school boards have stepped up, and provinces. So that's been a big, accomplishment from innovation and transformation. And the federal government is stepping up to ensure that rural areas have better access to the internet to enable online learning for kids who don't have access. And there's a lot of rural poverty in farm regions, et cetera, right? So getting the tools to the kids and access for the parents to support their kids is really important.
Right, that's really interesting. So moving forward now, let's suppose school starts on Tuesday. Is it Tuesday already that school's supposed to start?
Some are starting being phased in Peel. Yeah, that's right.
How is the education system going to respond to, okay, we tried this, there's too much infection.
Yeah.
We've got to scale back. How is it going to ebb and flow?
Yeah,
because it has to follow the science and it has to follow infection rates and so
100%. So we held a national webinar with C21 Canada, an organization that co-founded a not-for-profit, Canadians for 21st Century Learning and Innovation. We have 4 district superintendents from across the country share their plans. And, I was really impressed with the grassroots coming together. As an example, a principal neighbor of mine, invited the teachers to her home or to the school a couple weeks ago, and she said, let's figure it out together. 75% of her teachers showed up on a summer day that was their vacation time because they're committed. And I'll say this, the majority of teachers, 95% of teachers are really committed to making an impact on students. So they will figure it out. And I said, are you stressed about it? She said, you know what? I created a steering committee and my teachers, they're gonna figure it out. So I'm optimistic that the dust will settle, all the anxiety that currently exists amongst parents and teachers will go away. And there will be bumps, but it's not a perfect science. We're in a crisis. So people need to be a little more understanding and flexible. And particularly on both sides in Ontario, particularly with the province and the teacher unions. They got to form more of a partnership, and I'm disappointed that that hasn't happened. And I'm happy to facilitate that because I've mediated many situations.
Got this guy.
All right. This is school boards, province, Doug Ford. Call this man right
Look
here.
at his jacket.
And he
Happy
will,
to step up.
and he will
Fantastic.
take care of it. Rob, is there anything else you want to add about what's going on?
Oh, no, it's one of the things that I would encourage parents to do is have the kids outside, incorporate physical activity in their day because, they're gaming more and you need a balance. So physical fitness, as we are mindful of that, and I've been running around the squash court with you in the past, first taking it to you, and now you've surpassed me. I'm
30 years of squash playing.
happy to say that's right. But and then use the outdoors. There's great activities that kids can embark on, science related, in the backyard or in the kitchen, learning to cook and
Or golf.
recipes.
Right.
Or golf.
The physics of golf.
Junior golf. Come on now.
Golf
There's all
is,
kinds of physics there.
Golf is one of my favorite pastimes as well.
Excellent.
So with that, I think that we're all in this together, and everyone's got to step up to in the best interest of kids at heart. That's at the end of the day, it's about the kids.
Do you find that the parents are finding it hard to have the technology, say iPads or stuff like that, that they can't maybe afford? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of donations that schools will make that available.
Right.
So they're overcoming those barriers, which is really positive.
Because kids would say, no, I don't have an iPad.
And we're also providing free resources on C21 Canada. And we created a Canadian Coalition for Learning at Home in the spring, offering up over $50 million. All the companies, the EdTech companies, stepped up to provide free online resources. And we're going to resurrect that and update the tools. And not everyone can come back to the table with free because you can only have so much runway to do that. So, but again, we're in this together, and I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks for coming in. And Rob, people who are following along what you're saying and interested in what you're saying, where can they find you online?
Sure. Yeah,
where can they find some resources?
We have a free newsletter we publish weekly on learning technology at www.mindsharelearning.ca.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been Rob Martellacci from Mindshare Learning, and we will be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have the beginning of a brand new segment on the Tom and Rick Show. It is called Eating Port Credit. Why? Because a lot of people come to Port Credit for live music, which is fantastic, and a lot of people come for cocktails, which is fantastic, but we have amazing dining here in Port Credit, and we want to let the world know where to go for these unique dining experiences. Now, Rick, you have been eating at Spice a lot lately.
Oh, I have, because you discover that there is really good food out there, because as everybody, I'm not a foodie guy, but there's a lot of good food to be had rather than go get a slice of pizza or a Subway sub and eat it in a car in the driveway.
Right.
But I don't know that person.
That's sadness right there.
Okay, yeah. But there is a lot out there that is affordable and really, really good. Rather than getting some fancy burger you're gonna pay $23 for anyway. Okay, so there's other places in Port Credit that you can go to and have a decent, really, really good meal, actually.
And this brings us to Cooking with Carson. We welcome Carson to this segment because Carson, as you know, is a professional musician, an amazing saxophone player, but also, if you've been watching the show, is a remarkable cook. So we are very happy to have today the owner and chef from Spice Lounge, Ryan and Christian. Welcome to the show. Such a pleasure to have you to kick off this segment. Tell us a little bit about the food at Spice, and maybe Christian, tell us a little bit about how you came to meet Ryan and start working at Spice.
As far as the food, especially this summer with the patio that we built, I thought we could have a little fun, and I could go get a little bit more creative and have my way with it, basically.
Awesome.
And I know that people would come, and once they try it, a lot of people would start talking to other people about it and spread
Yes.
the word. And I'm really happy about this summer. And then as far as meeting Ryan, I think I met Ryan and Andy, who's the other owner, his brother, just as a lot of people meet, just going to the bar late at
Right.
night.
Like
Obviously,
the way
yeah,
people
exactly.
meet.
We'd
In
be
the
In the
somewhere
before
else.
times, that's how people
Yeah,
used to meet.
before times,
It's
yeah.
how we all met each other.
That's how
It is how we all met each
That's how
other.
we all meet.
Alcohol was the lube that brought us all
Yes,
together.
exactly, yeah.
Now, before Carson jumps in with some more sort of chef-specific questions, if someone is at home and they're saying, I'm going to try that spice place, what would be the perfect, or what would you suggest would be a great order of 2 or 3 things off the menu?
Oh my goodness. I would go with at least one of the tacos,
Oh, yes.
because that might be seasonal.
Right.
So we'll see if I take them away or not.
Oh, don't
When-
take
come
them away,
wintertime,
man.
we'll
Don't
see.
take them
There'll
away.
be a sad Rickford if you take them away.
And I maybe the short ribs and maybe one of the tuna dishes or the grilled octopus as well.
Beautiful.
Octopus, yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
so a lot of people
the
like
seared
that,
tuna.
yeah.
It's fantastic, and I also love the smoked duck flat.
Yes, I like
yeah,
that
which
too.
is
Yeah, the smoked duck is actually, that's one thing. Whenever we do a menu change, we'll have our regulars saying, if you leave it, like, we're still good, but you take it off, we're not coming back. It's been on the menu for
it's one
maybe
of the
12
few
years.
things. I'm
That
not
is
allowed to
that is a
take off.
passionate duck eating clientele you have.
Yeah.
Some
Yes.
people, the word duck scares some people, right? So once you try it one time, you know it's all rolled out from scratch. That's why people say it
It's
has
funny.
to stay on
It's
the
funny
menu
because
always.
if you made French fries in duck fat and never told them, they would say that these are the best fries I've ever had. Right?
Yes. Carson, as a chef, when you go out to a restaurant, what sort of runs through your head? Sorry, as a cook. I was told not to call Carson a chef. He goes, don't throw the word chef around, Tom. As a cook, you know, when you go to a place like Spice, what runs through your head?
Well, first of all, Ryan's been on the show before and talked about this. I think Spice is one of the biggest success stories we've seen this summer with that fantastic patio.
Love it.
And yeah, so, and the food is fantastic over at Spice. But Chef Christian mentioned a couple things that I thought were kind of on point. Number one, mentioning that you just had your go at it, right? And when you're given the liberties, lots of times as a chef, you're hired by a restaurant to cook their own lane menus. That's probably the reason they weren't doing well, and they had to get a new chef in the first place.
Correct.
So it's great to see that you have that opportunity to bring your own expertise to the table, and you also mentioned the word seasonal. So your menu, do you just kind of go by season and see like what is fresh?
I try my best with what's available around, and given that there's a lot more restaurants now, I think it's time to broaden the menu and just get a little more creative as well.
Totally.
And so what can we look forward to? Are there new things on the horizon, exciting, exotic things?
I'm gonna be trying see what's happening and see what's available. I wish there was a farmer's market or a huge one. I know we have that farmer's market, but I wish there was some other kind of market I could go to. You know, early in the morning, see what's happening. That would be fantastic, but that's not the case. So I'd have to just see going out to eat other places. That helps me a lot, and also seeing cooking shows, not cooking shows, but travel shows on TV.
Right.
Nice.
And when I see that, I know obviously I'm not going to get some crazy kind of exotic product from
Right.
halfway around the world, but I'll try to substitute that and see if I can make it work.
Well, that sounds very interesting.
I love how Ryan and Andy from the Spices give you a space that you can create, and it's if you listen to your chefs and your employees, you might come out with a lot of success of what's happening at Spice right there, man.
It's
I
also
love that.
because my brother and I are horrible at cooking.
It's true.
Who would I or my brother be to tell him it's like this?
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
But it's
here's a budget, here's an idea,
It's a hit.
and have.
Yeah.
It's a hit, and
Yeah.
I hope a lot of people find Spice with their patio is great, and the food is great. So I'm hoping that happens.
Yeah, I mean, we have talked. It was actually when the COVID was still this crazy thing, and we didn't even know if you were going to open or how you were going to open or what's going on. That was the last time you guys came on.
If you can recall, though, Tom, when it comes to how we all met, it was way back in the day. We used to do brunch, and then you gave me your family's Spanish tortilla recipe.
That's right,
And
because you
made
were
it
opening a
up and you
tapas
brought it
restaurant.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
One of the best things that does separate us, despite Christian being amazing, is that tapas is, it's how I like to dine. It's a social way of dining. It's still, rather than matching up everyone's entree, it's coming out and everyone's shareable. It creates conversation.
Now, has COVID been weird for tapas dining where it's, I'll maybe sit across the table from my friend, but we're not in the same bubble? There was a time when maybe we would share food, but now we won't. Like, how has COVID affected life in the kitchen and life in the front of house?
For front of house, just very specifically to how we have it designed, since it's acrylic and that's your section, it's comes out, it's still all share plates. So I haven't noticed a difference in the dining style.
Right.
But as for preparation, that's
Same goes in the kitchen. Nothing much has changed. I don't have a huge kitchen. It's me and three other cooks.
I see it's not very big at all.
Yeah, I trust that my other cooks and me, myself, we don't go anywhere.
You are in a bubble.
Yeah, exactly. We're either at work or at home,
Right.
usually. And if we're not at work or at home, we're at work but at the bar.
That's why I wanted you on
exactly,
a TV show, because you need to be lit up.
It's a tough job. I mean, and it's like, there's even saying, it's like, you don't like the heat stand in the kitchen. It's a fun place to work, not just in the summer, and it's a busy place. And because I have a lot of respect for what you do, I don't call myself a chef. Because I have been in the kitchen once helping out, but it was kind of, they were in the weeds, and it was kind of like all hands on deck.
Oh, were you helping out?
Probably the
Or
only
were you
time
in the
ever
way?
someone from the band was in the kitchen.
Oh my God,
That's funny.
Hey, do you want me to make that garlic bread? Like, what?
Well, guys, it was wonderful to have you in. We love what you're doing, and we look forward to new surprises.
Oh, absolutely.
Ryan, as a musician, the worst feeling you get is when you go into a place and they're like, "Don't do this, do this. We want this. The people like this," and you're like, "Well, why did you hire me?
Yeah.
If you already know what you want. If you know what you want, get that guy." And it seems to me that you have allowed your chef to make food that we find delicious and to be different than anything else that's happening in Port Credit.
Awesome.
So thank you very much for coming, guys.
our pleasure.
Please
for having me.
go to Spice, check out Christian's amazing creativity, and
They have octopus, man.
and it's great. Not that chewy stuff you don't want.
No.
It is fantastic. Folks, Spice, eat there. We will be right back.
Thanks, boys.
Cool. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Carson.
And now, this week's non sequitur.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have a unbelievably talented musician here today, but not necessarily to talk about music. He's also an author of a new book, right here, Spoon Fed. We have Gord Depp here today. Gord, welcome to the show.
I should have worn my tweed jacket with the elbows and a pipe. Talk about my book.
I have one.
Yes.
Yes. Maybe an ascot.
Yes, that would be right.
Well, wonderful to have you. We're gonna talk about the spoons in a second, but I didn't know anything. I thought I knew a lot about you just because you've been in the public eye since I was a teenager. But it turns out I don't know anything about you.
Okay, good. That's great.
You you started school in Burlington, I understand.
Yeah.
Unable to speak English.
Yes.
How does a shy kid unable
Yeah.
to speak English become the new wave Canadian rock star?
Yes.
Oh, I think it's the perfect starting point for a songwriter, don't you think? Like, I was born in Vancouver, but we only lived there like a year, and then moved back to Germany, where my parents were from. So I didn't come back till '67, and it was like grade 2 or something like that. And I remember sitting there, and the teacher screaming at me. And finally, like a month into school, they set up a meeting with my parents at the principal's office, and they said, "There's something really wrong with your son. He just sits there and acts stupid." I said, "Yeah, they forgot to tell everybody that I couldn't speak English." And you can imagine what that did to my self-esteem. Kids laughing at me, and I think I talked about this book. I think I went to like one party all the way through school period, including high school. I was such a loner, but that made me sort of regress a little bit and write songs. I discovered a guitar. I said, well, I can channel my energy into that. And when I brought that to school the first time, all of a sudden, it was like,
Everybody knew you.
It was
Everybody wanted to
incredible
write.
how that changed everything.
But as a writer, it sort of gave you the outsider's perspective.
Totally, and I still feel like an outsider all my life, and people don't expect that, especially when you do big shows. But I think Sandy's like that a little bit too, where you do these big shows. We just done some crazy shows like with the Police, and every show we never get so absorbed in it that we get like, hey, we're rock stars. We're kind of looking at it going, this is really weird. Like, what is this? What is going on there? So we've always been observers, at least I have, and when you read the book, you see why, because not only not speaking English, but getting lost in kind of North American culture coming from Germany.
Right.
Like, Saturday morning cartoons, The Twilight Zone, Star Trek, Disney, all those things mixed into this crazy blender that made me who I was as a songwriter.
Now, most people in the 80s, if they were young, would maybe want to emulate Led Zeppelin or Rush because those were the biggest bands in the world. What made you, a kid in Burlington, this outsider kid in Burlington, say, I like drum machines, and I want to do something completely different?
So great.
Yeah, that didn't come till later, but I was a prog rock nut. That's what I was raised on. I never really liked mainstream music, so I liked, maybe because it's kind of, it wasn't what everybody liked, so I was a loner, so I sort of got caught up in like Genesis and King Crimson and Yes and that kind of stuff. And what our first drum machine was? This is even before you could buy like the 808 or whatever. Remember the old home organs?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
With the presets, like the Foxtrot, really stupid stuff. But
Bossa Nova.
We found a couple that were kind of just straight beats.
Right.
And we recorded those onto a little cassette recorder, like a loop. And that was our drum machine to start with.
Very cool.
Yeah,
because I think Chris McNeil, who friend of the show's, friend of ours,
Your drummer?
said to me that you guys are one of the first bands in Canada that ever have a hit with a drum machine.
Or anywhere, like the
with
808s.
Nova Hard,
Anywhere in the world.
Yeah, because our producer, John Punter, who just done like Roxy Music, Japan, stuff like that, he brought this box over, which is pre-808. It was like a larger version, which is sort of just, before they put it into a small Roland 808 drum machine. And he had just caught it was just starting to be used, so we were one of the first ones. You got to check this out. This is like the new thing. And in the meantime, it's still being used in dance music, right? It's such a big sound. I see license plate 808, something.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Now I'm curious about the creative process for something like this is different than writing a song. What's the process? What's the emotional relationship between being an author
tough.
and a songwriter?
And by the way, you should do it. I tell everybody they should write their book. Whether you think you have a story or not, it's really therapeutic. It's amazing what comes out. Not only you sort of make sense of your life, but you bring out things that you forgot about sometimes, and it makes sense of why you are the way you are, and it's pretty crazy. I was a writer before I even was a songwriter. And when I was that kid in school that, stayed at home and was, very shy, it was my English teacher, Mr. Creighton, in high school, who read some of my writings and said, "Oh my God, this is crazy stuff." Because I would write about things that would scare me or make me embarrassed and those kind of things. And even to this point of this book, it's all those things that people are afraid to write about.
Right.
That are the best. That's what people want.
Which is much more interesting than,
yeah.
I got really drunk in this hotel in New York and threw a TV out the window.
Nobody
I
wants
would
to read
much
that.
rather read about someone's, development as a human being.
Like I was saying, it's more like a Stephen King novel about a weird kid growing up in a weird town and the closets, the ghost in the closet and the weird things that twist your mind, right from the Twilight Zone. That probably influenced my mind more than anything else I can think of as the songwriter.
Right.
There's something about that weird twisted view of the world that, as a kid was like,
Very
galvanizing.
cool.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Now the Spoons have been busy. In fact, you guys are so busy.
It's not bad, eh?
Yeah.
You're busy in
creative, that's
COVID.
what we're doing.
You guys have, it seems like no one has gigs, and you have a drive-in gig coming up.
Yeah, we have a drive-in show, and next Saturday we just did an island up in Stony Lake.
I've seen that on Facebook.
Bob
it's
Casey
pretty
went
cool.
down the locks and
Yeah.
visited some of the retirement homes there that were hardly hit, and private shows and anything we can do. And other bands are calling and said, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, well, these are not brilliant ideas. They're like one step away from what we've been doing anyways. You've done private shows,
Sure,
obviously. But we've tied them into Ronald McDonald House, is one of the charities we work with. And automatically, not only do you have people who are like starving for music, but you have people who are wanting to help, with something,
Right.
now.
And
So-
maybe people having this beautiful thing called live music removed from them has inspired them to appreciate it a little bit more.
Absolutely. And the one we did on the island, Chris probably told you about it. It was, we had to stop a few times because of torrential rain, and people didn't care. They were so happy to be there. It might as well have been Woodstock. There were mudslides and people under tents, and they were just enjoying it. Whereas in regular, conditions, people were to complain with their money back.
Right.
Now they're like, I don't care.
They've rediscovered the
bring it
joy,
on.
I suppose.
Yeah, hopefully everybody gets that.
Now, speaking of joy, one thing I really like about the Spoons is there's always a creative movement forward. And you guys released an album, was it a year and a half ago or so? I went to the album release. How is it where a lot of bands are falling into nostalgia and
Yeah.
only want to play the hit they had 30 years ago, that you're still inspired to create new music?
Well, for one thing, I'm not really stuck in the 80s like a lot of other bands. I'm not going to name names, but they keep putting new stuff out and think, well, you're kind of still doing what you did back in, in the 80s.
Right.
Whereas I'm not really particularly a fan of 80s music, and I like new stuff. So I would rather be a band where people go, well, this is a kind of a cool new band that has a slight 80s flavor to it,
Right.
which a lot of bands do right now. I mean, there's a million like that. I still love doing it. I'm still passionate.
Is it strange that when you say 80s flavor to it, it's basically your writing?
Yeah,
so it's,
we
you
can't
don't
help it,
do
really.
that purposely. You do it unconsciously.
Yeah.
That's just the
Yeah.
way that's just the way you sound.
Now, I could easily write songs that sound not 80s at all, like you can,
Sure.
But I think a bit has to come through. It's got to be, no matter how far afield it goes, it's got to go, oh yeah, it's a Spoon song.
Yeah,
it's got to be.
right.
But that was
And I
your
think we're
writing.
lucky that way because some of the stuff that I remember back in the 80s, we didn't have the big record deals that a lot of other people did, like Last Tiger or Platinum Blonde. And I go, why don't we have that gated snare sound or that keyboard sound? Now when I listen to Boom FM or whatever, I realize all those bands have got the same sounds, right?
Right.
It was
Yes.
sort of generic, where we didn't. So I'm going to thank God that we didn't have that money or that technology that everybody else did.
I think it was a certain drum machine that everybody used.
Maybe.
Right.
It was like gated snare,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I remember going to music stores saying, which one of these snares is that gated snare sound?
Right.
Yes.
Right. So I think one of the things that's fascinating is we're sitting here and we're talking about that 80 sound, but you created
Yeah,
in part
that's-
that 80. So we're not just talking
Yeah, that's
about
what I mean.
we
It's
adopted something.
No.
Sorry for
Also,
cutting you
he-
off
he-
at that point.
he
But when you say that
created-
80 sound, you're talking about your own damn sound.
That's your
Yeah.
own damn sound.
I hope so.
Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I remember listening to your music because I'm a huge 80s fan. You know that. All
Yes.
the Depeche Mode stuff that I play all the time. But it was just, what I'm saying is it's not you sound like the 80s if you're writing new stuff. It's basically the way that you sound. That's your writing. You
Yeah.
created that sound.
I hope it is, and I hope it's
I think
unique, compared to some other stuff that came out. And we were really lucky with the people that work with us, because each one of those people, like Danny Lanois, starting out before he worked with U2, were really super creative people who sort of changed the course of music, right? So we got on with him, and the same with John Punter, who just worked with Japan and Roxy Music and all those kind of people, and knew the British sound, probably 808. Then worked with Nile Rodgers. I mean, he just went from being sort of this cool funk guy, working with David Bowie and Let's Dance, and then from that moment on, we were the next band after Bowie. He went completely commercial and became a superstar producer, right?
And what was it like to work with Lanois and with Niles Rodgers? Is it Niles Rodgers?
Yeah, Nile Rodgers, yeah.
Nile Rodgers, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, like when you're in that creative thing, we have a song. What do those great producers or musicians, what do they bring to the table?
They're like movie producers, Some people, you think, what are they doing? They're not really doing anything, right? They're going to go over and turn a knob once in a while and sit back, and other guys are right in there, it's sort of tyrants and take over. But they all leave a flavor on there, It's hard to say.
Lanois was more experimental. He
Yeah,
would say,
totally.
Oh, I like that on the guitar. Let's try it on this instrument you never heard
Oh
before.
yeah, all of a sudden
Kinda
we're
like
putting a
that.
vocal mic through a Fender, through
There
the
you go.
tremolo.
Yes.
He brought in Hugh Symes, who was not only a musician, but he did all the Rush covers. He brought in a Mellotron, from our progressive rock years, and so he definitely creative. Now was sort of the funky, cool New York guy. He actually had an engineer who did all the work for him. He sort of sat back and went, like this.
Wow.
It was like, when we compare him to like Alfred Hitchcock, some very sort of snobby. He's actually a nicer, more loose guy now. Back then he's very serious. And, but then Bob Rock, we worked with him. Another big name
wow.
from New York.
That's cool.
Like that's millions and millions of records between those
crazy.
guys right there.
And then we went back to John Hunter for the last album. We always had really cool people. And I think they gravitated toward us. We never went to them. They always came to us. Not because we were really the brilliant band, but there was something unique that made them go, oh, this is a bit more interesting than producing the next,
Whatever that
Van
was.
Halen album, whatever it was.
Well, how awesome is that? I mean, it reminds me of the story that's I was told. Sting was asked, "What do you look forward to? What's your favorite Canadian band?" I think you guys were doing a Police Picnic.
Yeah.
And Sting says, "The Spoons."
Yeah, nice. I think it's at the top of his head, maybe, because we were
Either
with
way,
them. It's very cool.
that's high praise.
Because we're different. I think, especially musicians, get pretty jaded about what they listen to, right?
Not me. I enjoy listening to you.
No, so
I enjoy listening to
we were a little
your
bit different than the mainstream. It was always a little quirky, right? Even when we put out Romantic Traffic in the States, To the Americans who are signed to A&M Los Angeles, they're still going, oh, that's a bit weird. I don't think America will get that, you know? Like, that was like as commercial as we got, right?
Right.
But, so you never know.
And Gord, you've got the book out. The new album came out last year. You're playing these shows. What is sort of in the future for you, or you and the Spoons?
Well, this is our 40th anniversary.
40
There's a lot of
years.
stuff we're going to have to put off until next year. We were going to do a reunion tour with the original guys.
Right.
New compilation CDs coming out. Working on some Christmas stuff. All sorts of things. Like, there's an endless, like, I keep thinking it's got to be over this year. It's not. Then it gets even bigger. It's got to be over now.
On the compilation, is there any like Spoon stuff from back in those days that was never released?
No, but we did put out an album called Unexpected Guest at a Canceled Party. That was that name for it. That was actually the B-side of one of our songs. And it was all, that's what it was, all unreleased songs from like the between the,
From
like
that
the
era, yeah.
old Emotions, Telling the Nights, Romantic Traffic years that were
I
never
must
got
have
released.
this.
So anybody who wants to hear that
Yeah, I would
unreleased,
love it.
it's in there. And you even find songs that are combinations. Take a song like Bridges Over Borders. You'll find two songs that the ideas were stolen from to make that song.
Right,
Oh,
interesting.
right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that happens a lot. You're
love
like,
that.
this song's not quite right, and this
Yeah.
song's not quite right, but together.
That was Tom Tremuth, another great producer who you worked with, like Frozen Ghost and Honeymoon Suite. He did that one with us.
And Gord, before we let you go, can you tell us a little bit about how the Flock of Seagulls thing happened? You know,
Well,
I see on your Facebook, I'm like, wow,
Playing
Gord's in
guitar
the
in
Flock of Seagulls now.
Yeah, and most people go, what?
Oh, that's excellent.
But when they hear me play, it makes sense because it's the same kind of sounds and chorus and delay and
Oh, yeah,
JC 120 amps or whatever. But it kind of goes back to Sting. We were has been signed to A&M Records because of Sting, because he saw us in New York City with Nile Rodgers opening for Culture Club, and they went to see Culture Club. Didn't really like them; they liked us, and that's how we got that thing. And we were at the police picnic in '82, and Spoons and Flock of Seagulls were the two young bands on the bill. You know, there was Talking Heads, Joan Jett, and all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember that day walking away and goes, you know, I like the Police, I like Talking Heads, but there was something about the Flock, especially the guitar playing.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 80s riff rock. It was like heaven for a guitar player. And then I didn't see him again until like 37 years later at a charity thing over here in Mississauga. He didn't bring a band. He said, can you guys just play some songs of mine? We had like a day to learn them.
Right.
But it was so easy for me because it's pretty natural.
Yeah.
And he kept looking over and smiling. He goes, well, that's nice. Never said anything to me, really. Then a year later, out of the blue, I get the text, you want to join the band? Like, who's this? It was like, Mike. You know, he is a man of few words, and that was it, yeah. And I'm with him like about 3 years now.
That's awesome.
That is amazing. What a cool life story, what a cool musical story, and what a cool journey you're on there. Gord, thanks so much for
Thank
coming
you.
in. It was
Yes,
great talking
thank
to
you
you.
so much, Gord.
The book right here, Spoon Fed, Gord Depp. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and we will be right back. Your own personal Ziki. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Cooking with Carson right now.
Hey guys, it's Carson Freeman, and today this is Cooking with Carson, and we're traveling all the way to Greece to make one of the best known dishes. Okay, it's not a dish, but it's actually served in a dish. We're gonna make tzatziki, T to the D to the Z to the tzatziki, and we're gonna make that today right in Tom's kitchen. Tzatziki is used as a spread as well as a sauce on all sorts of Greek food. It's a delicious flavor. It has protein and it has yogurt and great flavors that are gonna mix with meats, all sorts of things Greek, okay? And Canadian. So what I did is I actually made my own yogurt. I do that at home. It's a long process, so I don't wanna let you see the 10 hours it takes to make yogurt. Most of that is happening behind the scenes. It's not a process that we're gonna be stirring and doing ourselves. But to make Greek yogurt, it's a little bit different than regular yogurt, but I'll talk about that in a bit. First of all, what we need is cucumbers. A lot of cucumbers growing nowadays, and we have a season that's just getting to the end, and lots of cucumbers in the garden. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use an English cucumber. These aren't the kind we're gonna see in our garden, but we can see these year-round in the grocery store, and this is a great one to use. So what I'm gonna do, first of all, I'm gonna peel my cucumber. This is a great peeler because I can slide both ways, getting the skin off. And I'm not gonna use the whole cucumber because I've prepared some for you today, just to show you. here. We could use that for a different purpose later. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, cut it right down the middle, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna de-seed the cucumber. Getting back to my yogurt, Greek yogurt, the difference between Greek yogurt and regular yogurt is we've taken a lot of the moisture out. And what I'm doing here is I'm using the spoon to scrape the seeds out of this cucumber. When we take the moisture out of the yogurt, it thickens it up and it gives it that really nice texture that we love for our morning cereals, for our shakes, all sorts. Well, shake, you're gonna blend it with all sorts of other things anyway. When we make that Greek yogurt, it just gives that beautiful texture, and we don't wanna water it down by putting the seeds and all the juices of the cucumber. What I'm gonna do after that is I'm gonna take the cucumber and I'm gonna grate it just using my box grater here, okay? Just like this, and it's gonna grate it down like a carrot. But these pieces that we have here are very juicy. There's a lot of liquid in there. What I've done is I've taken the liquid out of it and I have some here, over here, some prepared grated cucumber. And that's gonna go in the tzatziki. There's many ways to do this. What I like to do is use cheesecloth, and I'm gonna actually squeeze it till the juices come out. Sometimes I'm gonna put it in a sieve and just put a plate on top of that and let the juices kind of drop down. And you can save those juices. They actually are really good to use if you want to mix it with some vodka, do a little shot. All sorts of great flavors for salad dressings and things like that. You can save that. But you can take the moisture out in many different ways, and you can try at home. Just use even really good quality kitchen towels, paper towels, and you can kind of squeeze it out that way. Now, over here in my prepared bowl of cucumber, I'm gonna add the Greek yogurt. And now this is where this recipe gets really easy. We're just basically stirring ingredients together, okay? I'm gonna use pretty much all of this. It's all Greek to me. And I got some lemon, beautiful lemon here. I'm gonna squeeze it in here. Some people are gonna add sugar to the tzatziki, okay? Never a Greek person is gonna do that. They're gonna frown on it. I'm gonna use the juice of half of this lemon because this is really beautiful and juicy. But if you are adding sugar, what I would recommend not to do that, but you'd add the sugar to the lemon juice before you put it into your tzatziki. I have some olive oil. You guessed it, this is Greek olive oil, my favorite, as I mentioned before. I have some dill. I've chopped some dill over here. And in tzatziki, traditionally you're gonna use dill or mint, and sometimes people use a hybrid. I had some dill at home, so I used that. I'm just gonna add it in here. We're gonna add some, what else do I have? Oh, some garlic. I have some crushed garlic. Put that right in there. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start to combine these ingredients. One of the main reasons we take the peel off of the cucumber is tzatziki is traditionally more of a white color, and it's gonna kind of turn almost like a creamy pesto. And you know, although that's a fine color, it's gonna confuse your guests if you're having a dinner party. They might think that it's a different type of sauce or a different thing altogether. But here, we pretty much have tzatziki. I'm gonna add 2 more ingredients. A little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And here you have it. Some freshly ground sea salt, not too much. Freshly ground black pepper. The pepper's optional, but the salt isn't. But be careful not to use too much. Now here, put it in the serving dish right over here. As you can see, I have some pita, some carrots, some beautiful cucumber and tomato. Let's try this tzatziki out. Opa, that's fantastic. This is a great thing to, and a little bit of spoiler alert, this is a great thing to do for your kids' back to school lunch. And you might see a back to school cooking segment in the future. And it's very delicious for anything that you need to spice up and make it a little bit more tasty. Delicious Greek yogurt tzatziki. Try it at home. Thanks, guys.
Much, guys. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me here on your show. And just a little moment to, you know, who gets to sit and play a piano under an apple tree at the nighttime, you know? It's just a beautiful thing. I think we should, it's like little shot glasses or something. I think we should mess around a little bit. What do you think? Well, you can talk about the pit, barbecue, the balance shopping, the people to mess around. They do the mess around. They do the mess around. Everybody do the mess around. Well, it's been gonna play from 9 to 1. Everybody here will be having fun. Lord, that mess around. Oh, we mess around. Do the mess around. Everybody do the mess around. All right, mess around. All right. Oh, yeah. Now I say stop, don't you move a peg. I say go, you shake your leg. Let mess round. I declare we mess round. Do the mess around. Everybody do the mess around. Well, you can talk about the pit, barbecue. We were shopping the people too. Let mess round. Ah, we mess round. Do the mess around. Everybody do the mess around. Ain't it nice to mess around under the apple tree? Just a beautiful thing, you know. Thank you guys. Love you guys. Have a great night.
Shore Grill and Grotto has always been a part of the community. And during these changing times, we are still here for you. Although things have changed, it's constant change that made us what we are today. Our restaurant is now open and is still committed to making fresh, fabulous food. We use only the highest quality ingredients to deliver great food consistently. Relax in our welcoming atmosphere with over 6,000 square feet of outdoor patios. Come and enjoy our outstanding customer service that caters to families and corporate events, as well as private dining and functions in our event rooms. It is always what we have done. It is what we will continue to do. So, what are you doing? Drop by and see us. We would love to see you.
Shore Grill and Grotto, it's a Shore thing.
Les!